Hello, everybody. This is Buku. I'm here gonna do some breakdown for you guys. My track "Align," and then another unreleased track that I finished up a few weeks ago. It's gonna be on one of the EPs. Probably coming out later this year. I don't know. Process of mastering it. What up, Jack? Mr. Alex, how we doing? So I have a line up here. All right. So yeah, I have a line here, and I guess I'll just play it for you guys first, and then I'll start taking you through it like bit by bit here. Yes, I am recording. What up, Joel? Thank you, Christian. All this stuff is the synth, by the way. Thank you, Miles, Jesse, what's up, Volker, Robert, what's going on, guys? Welcome along. Just playing through the track for right now. Alaniel, hello. So yeah, I do always produce in Logic. Did I think of doing this DMB style? Yo, I totally could. It definitely has the makings for some drum and bass for sure. Favorite track of yours? Thank you, Gil. Logic gang. Yeah, so welcome along, everybody. Thanks for joining me. Yeah, so tonight it's Logic Gang, and yeah, Logic Gang, no OTT gang, no Serum gang. It's we're doing stuff not necessarily by like the dance music playbook by, I don't know, 2019 2020 standards. I've kind of like, I don't know, I've kind of gone off the beaten path through my whole career, like just making music with stuff that not everybody uses, clearly, by using Logic. VIP drum and bass edit? Yeah, that's kind of tight. I like the idea. I mean, obviously, I had to dig up the session, but I still obviously have it, so maybe we could do that at some point. All right. So I'm going to start breaking down this intro a little bit, showing you what's going on. So it's obviously it's a very like melodic driven intro. So I have all these green portions, all these green regions. That's all Dune. Excuse me, Dune 2. So I can open those up and show you the patches, but here, these are like the melodic portions. The vocal sample, well, I'm going to get into it, and you guys are going to be pretty surprised by it. So I have a bunch of like melodic content here, starting with this guy. Like, I think this is probably, actually, no. Here, so this is Dune, a pretty simple patch. With Dune, Dune as in like sand dune, I usually start with the intro pretty much always, and I don't know, since I've started using like the modular system, which I'll be going over during this whole thing, since I've like started doing most of my sound design in the modular, I still will I'll start with like sound design ideas, but it'll always end up doing like something for the intro. It always ends up developing into something else for the drop. It's never like, I never come up with like, this is the drop idea, because I think it says something about like the cohesiveness of the song. I always found if I started with the drop, I would always end up writing something like, I would end up writing an intro for the sake of, because I had to write an intro, you know. These here are started from some presets that I tweak. I'll take a preset, because these are all kind of like pad, like space filling type things for the melodic content. So I'll take a preset that usually like some kind of pad, because whenever you load up like a preset of a pad, it always has like a really slow attack and like super long release, and it's always like you would never end up. It never seems like it's applicable to anything, so I end up tightening up, the ADSR, like amplitude ADSR, and then applying some like filter envelope stuff here. So that's a bad example, but okay, so moving on, just like some simple percussion stuff too. Some little like break beaty things in there. All right, so let's get into the meat of this intro. I'll just play you. This is the melodic content going on. So like, all things considered, like pretty trancey stuff. Yeah, so this is just like, this is all Dune stuff. Yeah, this is pretty much like, I have this one. You've been seeing a lot of people use Dune. Yeah, I like it because I know I can do what I want with it fairly quickly. Like, it's one of those things, and I have like, especially you'll see that's like up here, this pad Dreamer. This is it's a preset that's pretty like, it's a pretty basic like saw sounding pad preset that like there's always, you know, it has like the function when you're writing a song and you need like chords to be played, and especially in you know, especially in dance music where, you know, it's all about like, I don't know, these like trancey portions or like really loud stuff. It's like all you really need is like some like raspy like saw pads and whatnot. So this is what I'll do. Just load up this thing and then tighten it up and adjust like the cutoff to where it needs to be. And like this guy here has just like cutoff automation going up through the input. All right, sorry. Here we go. So, Josh, to answer your question, I'm kind of just going over the Dune stuff right now, which is pretty much, excuse me, it's pretty much all like melodic content stuff, and then I do have a little bass line here that was, this is modular recorded. How do I cope with all the tracks with no real names? I kind of like have this like specific layout. I have this like layout that I'll typically use, and it's not like labeled at all, but it's like I know where, like this is all my drums right here, and I always have my drums like in this region of the session. I always have like my drop synths here, and then I always have like my intro stuff here. So I kind of like got into this habit of placing stuff in the same location of the session all the time. So it's like reading. The way I would like equate it is like reading a music score, like a musical score that you would, like an orchestra would have. What does Dune offer that Serum or Massive will not? Well, honestly, Dune is not like the crazy like wavetable machine that like Serum is, and I don't necessarily know it's all that great for like creating like the wild wacky bass sounds, because I mean honestly I don't particularly know how to do that myself, because I used to use the Logic ES2 for all my bass sounds, but now I use this old guy here. So I mean it's all just, Dune is satisfying what application I need it to be, is pretty much to give you my answer. Because I'm not making like crazy wacky sounds. I would use Pigment. My song Concentrate is all Pigment. What elements do I like to lay down first is I like to do like intro ideas, or do like just start with some kind of like sound design. From time to time I'll like go through like the sample like the folders of your sample packs that that you like seldom use, just like the kind of like off the wall like weird shit that you never find yourself using, or is like too melodic to it's like too melodic to add, or like percussion stuff that's a little too melodic. Sorry, I'm trying to adjust this here. Percussion stuff that's too melodic for a project that you were like looking at it for before, just like the stuff that kind of feels like it gets left behind in the sample project, I'll like throw that in and just like start processing it and like trying to turn it into like a certain key. Do you add reverb, compression, EQ? Yeah, I pretty much like mix down as I write the song. So it's like as the song progresses, it's mixed down pretty much a good portion of the way. And like I don't like write the song and then mix down, because I find that like the mix down is as much of a part of the song as the actual sound design and like composition. Sample the squeaking, I know. Do I ever use summing stacks? No, I just learned about that like 2 weeks ago. I've been using Logic for like 10 years at this point, and I just learned about it. I have no idea how to use it yet. I'll need to figure it out. All right. I'm chatting too much. Let me I'll go through this thing. All right. Y'all ready for the fun shit? I'm just yammering on, not talking about the track at all. All right. So here we go. This is all like the melodic content and the vocal samples from the intro. So I'll just play it one more time for you guys. All right, so that's that. So what? This is a big trick. I'm letting y'all in on something here, some shit right here. All right, so what I do. So cat's out of the bag. This is my voice. This is me singing on the track. And so the big trick that I learned. So I basically learned. I heard about this trick from any sub-bass stuff. Yeah, I'll answer that. Ask that question again whenever I'm getting like into the drop stuff, so I don't forget. But I'll let me explain this, and then we can get into that. So I learned this trick. I think it was from Xyland. Silent. So basically, this is all my melodic material. These are like the Dune pads, and then there's an ARP here. So I go in and take all of this melodic content, and I'll drop it down. Let me check real quick. 5. Okay. So I'll drop it down 5 steps or 5 semitones. And so select everything. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And so then the melodic content will sound like this. So it's dropped down 5 semitones, and then so here's the shit right here. And so I recorded my vocal in this key here, so it's like a more comfortable key for me to sing in. And then so I recorded my vocals in this key. So this is my voice naturally here. Cat's out of the bag. That's like the big vocal thing. So I did that on front to back as well as my song Everything. Yeah, okay, so I'll just play the OG vocal by itself. And then when the stars align, you and I, and then when the stars align, you and I, and then when the stars align, yeah. So I'll never claim to be like a wonderful singer, but like, man, you don't have to be you don't have to be like a virtuoso singer. You can just layer it a shitload of times and it'll sound good. Let's see. Is my yeah, it's layered. So these two are just the main melody. And then these two are the harmony. And then here's the one where I'm gonna be real humbled right now with having y'all listen to this. This is the high one. So one more time, all unaltered. Yo, Eugene does the same thing. I love Eugene. I got turned on to him, I think, last summer. Shit is so badass. He's so good. Okay, so the falsetto, yeah. Do all the vocal? Am I on here? Yeah. Do all the vocal layers have the same reverb delay? Yes, they do, because I have them all going into a bus. This is the bus here, so I have compression, EQ, a de-esser on it. Oh, damn, I was using the Logic de-esser? Okay. Logic Echo, too? God damn. Echo, and then reverb, yeah. Some filters in there, too.
Make your music stand out, get more views, and way more engagement. Bring your music to life. Get Music Visualizer. In every format, even for social media. Get started today. The link is in the description.
Yes, I do use Auto-Tuner. So I use, this is before Logic had like basically Melodyne built into it. So I use the Logic Auto-Tuner. I haven't set it to any scale. What am I doing? I made this like years ago, so I'm kind of like discovering stuff that I didn't know about the session. Yeah, so layering leads like this has the same effect. Yes, so basically I have it. Here, let me bring up the mixer and I'll explain. So from here to here, all these highlighted channels, these are all the actual vocals. Why is that coming through? Oh. Never mind. Okay. Yeah, so all of these, so you see here, this is the pans. So these first two here are like the main melody. So I have them panned side to side. Recorded twice, panned side to side, and then believe these two are the like super high falsettos, and then these two are the harmonies. So they're all panned to varying degrees. So I'll record the same thing twice and then pan them. So it's basically like a manual way of stereo widening, and this is something that I learned. I went to school for music production, so I've done a bunch of I was doing tons of like engineering and audio production, or like recording studio shit. So that's like one of the things that all these it's one of the studio tricks for like recording a band. Recording a band, you'll like record the guitar player recording the part, and then do it twice and then pan it a little bit side to side, so it just like fills out the whole spectrum. It like makes it thicker. Do you cut the mids out of your synth layers? No, I didn't necessarily do that for this. I have done it on other tracks. Like, here, let's see. Excuse me. So this is the EQ for the vocals. So I'll turn that off. And then, so I'll turn that off. And so one thing I'll always do is just high pass it, because you never need any vocals that like at anywhere under like 200 hertz, anything like that. And then I kind of like, you use your ears, and like it's kind of visual too. And one of the things that I learned, this is another like school thing too, like, if you think something is kind of like poking out, I'll take an EQ, and I mean, make sure you're not like blasting your speakers. I'll give everybody like a few seconds to turn your shit down. And so you can locate it by like spiking the EQ. So it's like, I don't like that there a little bit. So then you go and you take it down, and you just pull down that frequency. And that's like what I'll do with mostly this has to do with like recorded stuff. Because I think depending on like what kind of gear you have and, you know, the environment of your recording, you can have like some pretty offensive frequencies in recorded stuff, more so than like the synth world and like software synths and whatnot. And I have to do that with my modular system too. I'll have to like locate offensive frequencies, and I'll use like Neutron 3 from Isotope to compress certain frequencies. But okay, so back to this thing. So what you do after you record that, you take all of your melodic content, because you remember you pitched it down the 5 semitones to record it. So now you're going to take it and put it back up the 5 semitones. All right. And then you'll take a yeah, I guess that's considered subtractive EQing. Okay, sorry, I was just reading what all y'all were saying. Pitch glide on the vocal, no, that's just me kind of like raw singing. Okay, so then you pitched everything up the 5 semitones back into what the original key was, and then I'll use the wave sound shifter, and then pitched up 5 semitones here, and then I have that on all of the individual vocal tracks, and so I'll turn that on for each thing, and then all of a sudden you have this. The ASMR. Yeah, so that's how that goes. Feel free to use it. It's crazy. So the act of pitching the vocal up is like it. There's something that happens whenever you pitch something up, that it just makes it sound smaller, and so it like turns it into like it makes it sound like the male diaphragm is like a female diaphragm. So it gives it like this feminine quality. Yeah, so that's it's just pitched up but recorded in a key lower and then pitched back up into the regular key. All right. Yeah, it's the same idea. I mean, you could do it. You could go the opposite way and make you could do it the opposite way and make yourself sound like the Cookie Monster or something, I suppose. All right, I'll get into the drop stuff now. Okay. So all of this sound design, this is all modular stuff. So this is all my modular system here. I'll just play it soloed. Okay. So this is all modular stuff, and so I will preface this saying that I realize that I would be willing to bet that almost nobody is building modular systems right now. I know it's kind of like it's somewhat of a rare thing, I suppose. You really gotta really dedicate yourself to doing it. And so I'm going to get into like the sound design stuff with modular, but I will preface it and say that I think a lot of it is applicable to software synth stuff too. And particularly it's applicable with like the processing and particularly with wavetable synths, because pretty much like I used one single oscillator module for this entire thing. I used one oscillator, and it's basically like if anyone knows Pigment, actually here, let me pull it up. Where is it? So basically the one oscillator that I use on my modular system, like the way I think about it is basically like, so you see this wavetable and you see it's kind of like on this like 3D plane. I have 4 different, here, I'm going to switch over. The oscillator is this one here, the one I have my finger on, and there's these 4 knobs here. And I kind of think of them as like if you were to look at Pigment here, it's like kind of affecting where on like the x and y axis you see this wavetable. Yeah, okay, so those fills are the same bass, yes. So what I'll do with that, like we'll say this one in particular. Um um Neil, I'll get to your question after I talk about this fill here. So, this fill, it's all the same. It's all the same bass sound that's recorded. So it's basically all the same synth. And this one, the one that sounds like kind of crazy, that guy. It's literally just using. I use this Michael Norris chorus. Michael Norris chorus. It's a chorus plugin from Michael Norris. And this thing is, I'll turn this off. So with it off, it sounds like this. God damn. I live in Pittsburgh, and there's a refueler plane that has a route over my house. It's loud as hell. It just flew over us. Yeah, so this chorus plugin, so this is without it. It's basically, this chorus plugin is basically, the best way I could describe it is like a really, really tight delay processing. So it like, I'll turn up the delay, the feedback. So the feedback up. So you can affect like the delay time. So what I do with this typically, like in situations like this, I find, because the delay starts to get so fast and close together, it like starts to generate a pitch. You see what I'm saying there? So I'll find like some kind of frequency that I think sounds tight, and it kind of like expands the sound a little bit. So this is like the final one. And then this one is just the same sound going from right to left, or left to right, whichever way. It just like kind of scans the left, right. So it's all using the same sound, but it's just using a variety of processing to add a little bit of variety to it. Yeah, okay, general processing steps when working with synths. Yeah, so all right, in the track that I'm going to do next, I have some like really heavy processing stuff. And it's all modular stuff again, but it's like way more processed than this thing. The Roland TR machine, it's the TR8S. Can you piano roll of the synth? So I don't have any piano roll of the synth. This is literally all modular stuff. Can you automate that to make the note change? I mean, I guess you could, yeah. Oh, the delay of the chorus. Yeah, you totally can. How do you do that? I think hello David. Volker, I think making it not so repetitive, because like, all right, through this whole drop, it's all pretty much like the same timbre of synth, but it's just like, it's broken up by these little like fills that it breaks the like repetition of just doing the same sound over and over again. And then you can also do stuff with like changing the rhythm of it, like going halftime like I do here in the second half. Yeah, because like it's all the same synth pretty much, but like just adding those little moments to break up the repetition is important. Oh, actually here's some synth processing stuff. So this like chugging eighth note guy here. So it just like raw here. It just kind of like, it doesn't hit that spot. So I have Isotope Trash for some distortion on it. And then I have a transient shaper on it, softening the attack and then elongating it pretty much, increasing the sustain. And then dimension expander from Xfer. Sub tips. You could, I could talk about some sub tips. So for doing my sub, this one is pretty simple. This is all like 808 samples. Yeah, so this track, I've done this for a lot of my tracks where I use like a sub sample that I know is like really strong and dope. But you can manipulate it like, I think this is most samplers you can do this. So I load it into this Logic sampler, the EXS24. And so what you can do, I'll just have this go long for the sake of talking about it. So there's, not all subs are built the same, obviously, as you guys I'm sure know. So you can do various things with changing like the timbre of the sub, like depending on what application you're using it for. Depending on what application you're using it for, you want, like, so there's some of those trap songs that have that really like noisy, like mid-range heavy 808 sound stuff, but then like a lot of like dubstep, I suppose. I think of like Zomboy as an example, has really, really clean sub bass underneath of his synths. And they don't have like any mid-range whatsoever. They're just really clean, like root note fundamental things underneath. So some stuff you could do with the sub, you can play with like the cutoff of the sub sample, the 808 sample. Turn up the drive, get that like kind of raw, trappy sounding stuff. You can, even though, I hope you guys are listening on like headphones or not, because you wouldn't be able to hear this otherwise. There's ways you can play around with the cutoff and like drive and distortion of a sub, where there's like a million different things you could do. Like just because it doesn't have like a really crazy high end, like, a lead synth or like a lead bass synth, there's a lot of timbres you can achieve with the sub using cutoff and drive and distortion and like resonance and stuff. Yeah, that is like Yeah, there's tons of stuff you could do with the sub. I think I don't know. I think that kind of stuff works really well on songs that have like a lot more space to it, which is I think why it works so well with like trap music. For mixing and mastering session, I don't really know how to master, to be honest. I send my stuff to a mastering engineer, but I know how to like prepare it for mastering. And like I'm one of those guys that like I don't have like crazy metering plugins that I use, and like I know exactly like what decimal point, like what or decibel point I need to have like my kick reading at, and then like you need your snare at this decibel, like da da da. I don't know how to do all that stuff. I'm kind of like, I don't know. I just kind of feel it out, and I like literally will feel it out. I like reach up and touch the cones of my my monitors, my studio monitors here. I went to Duquesne University in Pittsburgh. But yeah, like I was saying, I'll literally go up and touch the cones of my monitors, and like you can feel like how the kick is reacting with the sub, and if it's like riding on top of each other too hard, it's like you touch your speakers. You know what I'm saying? Some main points you pin down on it. So basically just making sure here, I'm gonna load up the second track while I'm chatting here. What was I saying? Oh yeah, some of the stuff that I pinned down. I'll break. Yeah. Basically I try to send it out with like the absolute peak of the song, decibel wise, at like -3 dB. The chest sub thing, the sub pack, yeah, those things are fucking dope. I would really like them.
Make your music stand out, get more views, and way more engagement. Bring your music to life. Get Music Visualizer. In every format, even for social media. Get started today. The link is in the description.
I'd like to get one at some point. Oh yeah, so peaking at -3 to like -2 dB, and just like making sure, because you send it out all completely uncompressed, so making sure you take off any kind of like mastering chain that you might have on your master channel, taking off all that stuff and making sure that your mix down is solid even without like the limiters on the end, or oh shit, Neil, you saw that. That's a secret. Oops. So yeah, sending it out uncompressed, take the like soft clipper off. Yeah, no, you never push red whenever you're sending it out to a mastering engineer, because if you're pushing red, I mean, you can do whatever you want, honestly. But like using a mastering engineer like that, I tend to kind of like follow the rules that were taught to me like years ago, where you send it out to peaking at -3, and then it gives them a headroom to work with. Because if you're sending out mixes to a mastering engineer that are already clipped on the master, it's like you're not giving them any room to work with it, other than like they could limit it more, but then I don't know, it'll just like destroy your mix even further. Jack Hayes, yeah, they have no headroom to do their jobs. Yeah, well, a lot of people will redline a lot, but I think they're typically mastering themselves. So they can, like, if you're mastering yourself, you can do whatever you want. But if you have a mastering engineer, you got to leave them some headroom to, apply their own limiters and soft clippers and compression and multi-band compression and all that stuff. What are your biggest tips for beginners? Biggest tips for beginners, I would say, well, I think you're doing a good job with being in here, Josh. Doing a good job in being in a group like this, because honestly, like, the way that I did go to school for music production and all that, but I went to school for music, but a lot of the dance music stuff I learned on my own, and when I was learning it, I didn't necessarily have all the resources like there are today. So I mean, I would just watch all the YouTube tutorials you possibly could, and just explore music, man. Like I don't know, like I don't think you can make like great music without listening to a lot of great music. So definitely, I mean, if you're getting into making music, I imagine you're pretty like, well, I don't know, you have a decent like experience as much music as you possibly can is what I'm trying to say. Yeah, Sean Long is correct. Sorry for the silence. I was just reading what he was saying. All right. What do I listen to outside of electronic music? I listen to a lot of electronic music of like different flavors. Oh yeah, Sean Long. Like you can. Yeah, like Digital Zero. Digital Zero will always be Digital Zero, so you can clip in whatever you want. It might like give you some artifacts like in the session, but sometimes you want that, you know. I listen to a lot of techno though, Alex, and that's electronic music still, but all right, all right, this is the second track. This is unreleased stuff. I made it during quarantine, as hence the title Quarantine 02, which is not final. But here we go. Wild one, huh? Thanks for the kind words, guys. Glad you like it. Composition advice. Yeah. So, oh shit. Okay, so we about to get into it then. Potential for DMV second drop. Man, y'all really want me to drum and bass? Have a drum and bass drop. My song Heartbeat has a drum and bass second drop. Compositional advice. Thank you, Jack. That's very nice. Appreciate it. I'm just gathering my thoughts. So all right. I'll just, full disclosure. I'm not like an actual instructor of any sort. So I'm kind of like trying to figure out how to explain some stuff as I'm going along. It's kind of fun though. It's interesting, kind of like reaching inside of my own brain and like all this stuff that's there, putting it out into words and explaining it to you guys. Do you produce with audience in mind? Yeah, I mean that's kind of like what I've started doing. As my career thankfully has gotten, it's rolled forward and upward. I started to produce for the crowd even more, and especially in today's day and age, it's like these I don't know. There's people. All these people want these smashers and these headbangers and stuff. So I've been writing a little bit heavier, with them in mind. Bonus showing the vocal for Why Yeah. Why Yeah. You know what? I'll do that at the end here. Because are you talking about the vocal, Neil? Are you talking about the vocal? That's like in the drop, because that's actually just a synthesizer. Thank you, Eric. Okay, so the processing. Sorry, I'm getting distracted with you guys. All right, so composition-wise, I started with, I believe, this thing. So that it was kind of like, it was basically, that's this one other oscillator that I have in my modular system, that it was literally me. I wrote in this melody because so what you do, so you can basically, I have a module in there that's a MIDI to CV being control voltage. So I believe this is in A, so I was just going da-da-da-da. I think I was just like running up. So I'll like, I think it was digga-da-da, 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 something like that. But so I'll like write it in the piano roll, and then I'll like, wherever it's at here, I'll like loop it back, and I'll create an audio track. And so I'll have the MIDI going from my machine, my computer, out to the modular system, and the modular system like processing the MIDI information into control voltage, then recording the signal from the modular system back into the computer. Yeah, you can do all this stuff in Serum. It's all like, I know going into this, I was kind of like, shit, like I don't use like software synthesizers for like all my like wacky bass sounds, but like all of this stuff is all possible in Serum and like wavetable synthesizers. Oh, yeah. Alex, I will do that in just a second. And this is another thing that's very applicable to Serum. Um, what audio effect is on there? I believe it's Crystallizer. So if you guys aren't messing around with the sound toys, you should really start, because like the sound toys whole bundle is I put sound toys on pretty much everything. And so the effect on there is this crystallizer. It's basically it's like this delay plugin and then some. It delays stuff, and then like in the delay tails it like reverses it. So this is without. And then I put on this crystallizer, granular echo synthesizer. So I put this thing on, and it's literally the default patch. I just turned up the feedback on it. It just like instantly sounds crazy. Best modules to get. I would say definitely look at the noise engineering. Look at noise engineering oscillators, like the Basimilus Iteritatos. That's like I've written this entire tune as one oscillator. Okay, so as Alex mentioned earlier, the long string of audio. So all of this stuff, like this whole thing, all of this here is the actual session. Like this is the song itself right here. And then while I'm writing the song, you see all of this stuff. This is, especially this stuff that I've highlighted here, this is all like scratch takes of me recording my modular system. And so this is something that you can do with like Serum as well. Is so I keep on. Yeah, so I'll record like scratch takes. This is like scratch takes of different rhythms, like different parts of like different parameters within the oscillators, modulating at like different rhythms and like creating different like grooves within like all of that motion that you hear in these like main synths here. Like I'll solo this thing. So that thing, it's all pretty simple when it comes down to it, because it's just one thing recorded, but it's like it's executing a few different like there's so much movement going on in it, so there's like certain parameters in the synth that are going by like an eighth note, and then there's another parameter that's going on like a triplet there. That's why it kind of like has this kind of like rotating groove to it. So I'll record a whole bunch of like scratch takes of this, so I can and then so I'll record all these scratch takes, and this is something you guys can do in Serum too, is like applying modulation to different parameters within whatever synth you're working on, and then just letting it ride, and like I'll turn some knobs and like give it some different movement, but I'll record everything, and then I will pick I'll pick and choose like the little tidbits that I want to use in the actual track itself. So I'll just play through some of this stuff. Oh, Eric. Yeah, I get a bit of latency, but so um I get a bit of latency, but one of the things I can do, let me come over here. This guy here that I have my finger on, this is the Pioneer Torres squid, and it basically acts like the brain for all my sessions, and so I have like clock information going into the modular system like through here, and like it's like clocking everything. So what you can do, because it's used for performances, what you can do is actually, so I'll hit record on my computer over here, and then I'll be like recording a sound, and it won't be perfectly. I'll hit record on the computer, and then I'll hit play on here, and it won't be like perfectly on beat, but I can actually like. It basically has a jog wheel function, so you can kind of like push it like closer to. You can like adjust for the latency by like kind of like, if it was like a CDJ, just kind of like pushing or pulling the jog wheel, so that helps with that. Yeah, I'll go through some of these. So like, I was thinking about this earlier with like all this scratch take stuff. Oh, there's even more. Oh, whoops. Sorry, guys. Yeah, so, all right. My whole point to this was, you can do this stuff with like the software synthesizers where, I found myself, like whenever I was, I would find myself getting stuck with, the one area I found myself getting stuck with the software synthesizers was you have to write you write MIDI for the synth to you have to input MIDI for the synth to start speaking, right? Do I layer the synth? No, that's all one single oscillator. It's just a really complex oscillator. It like, I guess you could consider it layered, but it's really like it's one oscillator module. It's not like I'm going between like multiple oscillator modules. But oh yeah, okay. So what I was gonna say was like I would find myself getting stuck, writing MIDI for, and because you have like, let's say you're in the session here and you're in your drop. So like, okay, you're thinking to yourself, all right, I have like this stuff written, and then you're like, I want to do a fill. I want to do something like this. Like a little fill in there. So you go in and you write in the MIDI like where you want that synth to be, but you're like, you're having like a really hard time finding like what you want that sound to be necessarily. So you I found myself going, it's just like, man, I don't know what the fuck to put in. Can we curse? Sorry. I think I have been the whole time anyway. So you find yourself going, it's just like, what should I put here? I can't figure it out. And so what you can do is like go all the way to the right in your session where all this like blank space is and start recording some stuff, start recording yourself. Like even if you don't have any gear, like you don't need any gear to like twist knobs. You can go with your you can go and just like spin knobs on your software synthesizer and just have it recording the automation. Just make sure you set your automation to record on like touch or latch or right or whatever. But you can record all of that stuff. So audio 74. You can to finish my thought just real quick. You can go out there and record all these things and record yourself like spinning the knobs like with your mouse or whatever, and record yourself applying like different rhythms in like, because I know you can like apply like different oscillators within like Serum or whatever to change parameters, but you can just go and record a whole bunch of stuff and then listen back to it. So it's like you might not be able to write the exact perfect thing for that little fill, that exact moment that you have in your head. It's like, I need 1/8 note of a synth that sounds badass, but it's like you could record 15 seconds of you like messing around with a synth, and somewhere in that 15 seconds you can find a little portion that's just like, you know what, this is fucking perfect for this. Yeah, use the space at the end of the project, Josh. Like you have all that space, and it helps. So it's not like you don't have like shitloads of like duplicated tracks that you're like have all kinds of experiments on, because like this has 75 tracks in it, but it's all like relatively easy to look at. It's just like, all right, synths, drums. It's not like shitloads of stuff stacked on top of each other. So yeah, use the space and record some stuff, because I guarantee if you just sit there and try to like execute something that in the long scheme of things, like in the track, that's what, maybe a second, a half of a second long. And if you're like banging your head off your desk about trying to create something that's a half a second long, it's just like, yeah, I mean, that shit drives me crazy. So, like to do like those like really like micro fine like songwriting type stuff, it's like think of it in more of a macro sense, where it's like it doesn't have to be just like one single stab. It can be taken out of like 15 seconds of experimentation, which is like pretty much how I write all of these synth parts. And like I said, I know I've said it a few times, but I do want to reiterate. It's like you don't have to have like hardware to do this kind of like process and this like kind of like conceptually type stuff. So it's like you don't have to just sit there and be like, this MIDI note is where I want this sound to happen. So that's my spiel on that. Oh yeah, so this Audio 74 and A2 it's a sub bass underneath. And so initially with this track, I wanted to... Oh, I think I kept the channel. Yes, I did. All right, so initially I wanted to actually use the sub bass that's actually recorded from this synthesizer sound. So this is what I had it like initially. Because it's kind of crazy. It doesn't like... So it's kind of crazy, but I found myself I was using Neutron with this, um, and I was like going kind of hammer with it. Like I did like 2 compressors back to back. Um, so Neutron, you can do these really nice multi-band compressions. So what I did is so I had it running through Neutron on like parallel compression pretty much, just compressing the low end, just trying to harness it, because the low end was recorded from the modular system, and the modular low end can be a little unruly. So I found myself trying to do that, and it just never really worked out, so I ended up adding a sub bass, which is just like an 808 sample, like real clean sub bass. So that together. Jack, I'll do it both ways. I will. Beautiful snare, thank you. It's just a sample. I mean, it's like pretty. Actually, I didn't do anything to it. I forget what pack I got it. Oh, it's a cymatic snare. Yeah, I use cymatics. What's up? I tend to not fuck around with my snares too much. I used to like process it and do like reverbs and stuff, but like with this noisy stuff, I think it's kind of unnecessary. Neutron is very CPU intensive. I think it's probably what makes my computer fuck up the most. Jack, to finish, I'll grab like little fills and stuff from Splice as well, but like what I'll do, this one doesn't have any of that in here. This is all like custom recorded fills, but I'll do that and then process it. I'll grab like a Splice fill from time to time if it's just like a really really short like 16th note thing or like 8th note. Yeah, because I mean it's out there, why not? This time I know you got me, Miles. Yeah, so I mean, you can do the same thing, like to do these short little fills. Like I know for a fact I did it with this guy here. That's just, I mean, it has a filter automation going up. That's just a high pass. High pass? Yeah, high pass. Yeah, so that's another thing you can do. That's another example of like I was saying before with like thinking of it in like a macro concept for these little like micro areas. That's another thing you can do too, where it's like when you're recording a synth sound and like letting it ride for a little while, and there's like you'll find that there's like areas of like turning the knobs that don't necessarily sound great for like just regular bass sounds and like the meat of your track, but stuff that kind of like screams and almost sounds like you're breaking the synth or like you're breaking the sound. Like that stuff is great for fills. Like that's pretty much exactly what this is here. Like I don't know I could necessarily use that for what's this? Yeah, like something like that. I don't think I couldn't use that for like an actual like compositional like meat of the song, but that kind of like noisy, rowdy, just raspy, crazy shit is really good for fills like that. Yeah, so what else did I want to do? Oh yeah, also like for the atmosphere, I like using stuff like this. Uh-oh. Actually, Excuse me. It's better in the intro here.
Make your music stand out, get more views, and way more engagement. Bring your music to life. Get Music Visualizer. In every format, even for social media. Get started today. The link is in the description.
Oh yeah. Ooh. Shit, sorry. That was loud. That was loud for me at least. So Volker and Alex, how long do I spend on a track each day? I mean, it kind of depends. Like, I don't work in these like crazy long marathon stretches of studio time. I know like some of my friends, even some of my artist friends, like they'll sit in the studio for like 10 fucking hours and like forget to eat dinner and stuff. But like I don't work like that, and I also don't particularly, everybody's different obviously, but I don't particularly think that's a healthy way of working. Because I think there's definitely something to be said about taking a lot of breaks. I mean, I'll work and like I'll work like really heavy concentrated and like maybe half an hour to hour long stretches, and then I'll like fuck off and chill for like 15 minutes or something, and then like do another like hour, and then like sometimes you got to like give yourself like frequent breaks, so that, cuz I don't think it's healthy, and this is not the way that my mind works. Like I can't just sit down and just be like just hammering something for 6 hours straight, like really heavy concentration. My brain just does not work like that. So I'll sit down, and all it really takes is just, you just got to go and sit down and work for a half an hour. And if it's not happening, take a 10-minute break, like watch some shit on YouTube, like just make sure you come back to it, just don't like fuck off for the rest of the day, but then like come back and like you'll have a fresh take on whatever you're doing, and you won't be like pounding whatever material you have. You won't be like just pounding it into your brain, so that it's like the same idea that whenever you repeat a word enough times, it stops sounding like a word. I think like that same kind of principle works with music. So it's like, if you're working on something and you're just like looping it back and back and back, like after a half an hour of just trying to do something and nothing's working, it's like it's going to start sounding like your mind is not going to be reading it how, I guess, a mind that doesn't have any like anticipation or expectation of what it's supposed to sound like, it'll like it'll just get like all the wires will get twisted. So I take a lot of breaks. I take a lot of breaks like that. But then like once it starts working, I'll sit down after like taking after taking like a 15-minute break. You come back from that and you work for a half an hour, and then that half an hour turns into an hour, and then next thing you know, it's like you get like the snowball rolling effect, like so work in like little spurts and take breaks, and then whenever it starts to like hit and like you start to get into that like groove of working on it, it'll start writing itself, and you'll find yourself spending multiple hours at a time doing that, working on stuff that seemed like fucking impossible before. So work it out, work in short spurts, take breaks. Yeah, forcing stuff never works out. Like if you're trying to force stuff and and you spend like an 8-hour studio session, and then you sleep on it, wake up the next day, like fire your studio up, or like put your headphones on, whatever, and then you listen to it and it's just like, what the fuck was I doing? Like, so that's what I'm saying. It's very worth it to take your breaks, and if it's not working, just accept the fact that it's not working. You know, it's not the end of the world. Just come back to it a little bit later. You know, go for a bike ride, go for a walk. You know, go play around on like COD or something. I don't, whatever you do, whatever you guys do. What do I do to feel inspired? Nothing. I don't listen to anything. I think it's for me at least. This is like now. Obviously, guys, like take this with a grain of salt because this is just like my take on it. You know, everybody's different. Their creative process is different, but I don't necessarily do anything. I don't like consume any kind of creative material while I'm kind of stagnant. Like, because I think you can kind of set yourself into a head trip of being like, oh man, like that shit is so fucking dope. It's like, and it's like, whenever you do that to yourself, you're just like, man, that shit is so dope. But it's like you're listening to someone's like finished ass product that's like mastered and everything, and you're like trying to build your first bass sound for the song you're working on. And it's like it's just not productive. So I don't necessarily listen to anything. If anything, like literally, like I said earlier, I'll watch videos on YouTube. I'll watch like I don't know, just like food, like cooking videos and shit, just like something to like completely take you out of like production and audio and creative process and all that. Do I have multiple projects? I jump between from day to day. I tend to work on one track at a time, but I've been, for the longest time, I've worked on one thing at a time, but I've recognized the value, especially like now, you know, I do this like professionally at this point. So I take it very seriously. And, the one thing I've kind of like picked up on is like the cohesiveness and like continuity of like an EP or like whatever, project you're working on, especially like if people are working on an album. I think I work on one thing at a time, but I will also start going back to like the previous track I was writing, and then maybe like if it's a 3-track album, I'll kind of like revisit, you know, the first track. You know, I'll like go back and revisit whenever I'm starting to actually like build good solid material in like whatever next song I'm writing. And then, you know, you can go back and experiment and be like, because every session that you work on is a learning experience, I think. And like I'm not a guy who uses templates, so I don't like, not everything is like mixed down and like mixed perfectly like from the jump. So I'm always like learning from track to track, and then you can go and adjust, especially like mixed down stuff from track to track as you're working on an EP. It helps to, you know, develop ideas, then jump back and be like, oh, you know what, I was doing this incorrectly in this track, or this doesn't fit like cohesively in like a 3-track project. So I'll jump around a little bit now, but I never ever will be like writing 2 tracks at the same time. That's just like too much for my brain to compute. Like I can write one piece of music at a time. But once that one piece of music is going, like I'll go back and revisit stuff. You want to hear that Why Yeah synth? What's one piece of production advice? You know what? Honestly, like now that I put that whole like taking a break thing into words, I think that would be. I wish I knew that earlier on, rather than, you know, just losing my fucking mind trying to write the tracks that aren't coming, and like the tracks that just are not writing themselves, you know. Neil, all right, this one's for you. My back is gonna be turned, but I'll be turning around. Yes, I'm drinking out of a jar. Actually, here I got these. It's a Buku jar. Look, let me see if you can see it. I'm gonna try to not pour it onto my gear. I got these from my folks in Capstone. Okay. All right. My back is gonna be turned to you guys for a little bit. But I'll do that. I just ordered it custom from Etsy. There's like glass etchers on Etsy. It's sick. Okay. All right, yeah. Okay, I can still see you guys, see the chat a little bit, so I'll be able to answer some questions, but I'm just going to be flowing a little bit. Okay, so why yes synth? So I'll like kind of explain what I'm doing as I'm going through it too, just to show you guys like conceptually what's happening. All right, so the thing that made that synth is this thing that I have my finger on right here. The mutable instruments braids is what it's called. So I'll just get the output of the module into basically my interface input. Check, is that good volume? Okay, so this module has like crazy modulation capabilities of like different parameters. So I believe Alright, I think it was one of these. I forget what key it was in, but I gotta pitch this down. Alright, we'll just do it. Oh yeah, that's it. That's definitely it. Alright, so to make that synth in that track, I would so you heard like whenever I twist this knob here, thank you, David. Love you, homie. So I would have to modulate that. So basically, when I say the word modulate too, I'm saying everything, any knob that you can turn, and this goes for software synth as well. Like if you wanted to turn the knob without actually touching it, you could consider it modulating. So I would have to send some modulation into that thing that made that like changing the timbre. Oh, this is the mutable instruments braids is what this module is called. Okay, so I'll send. I think that was like on. On Y, yeah, it was like boy yeah, boy yeah, boy yeah on the quarter note. So I'll send like a quarter note modulation. So I'll start sending some signals. So what you have to do is take this. What I'm doing right here is it sends out clock signal. Oh god, I'm gonna start getting technical as fuck. But basically it'll send different divisions of time out, so you can set different like events in like modulation all over the place. But here, I'll just do this real quick then. So I'll send it to another like I get crazy it gets so complicated, but like no holds barred, just telling you exactly what's going on. I'm sending clock signal into an envelope generator, so it's translating what the clock signal is. Basically, if you were to hear it, it just goes tick, 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 and so it's taking that tick and then it's translating it into like opening and closing softly. So it takes the tick, tick into wah, 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 if you will. So take that. So that's pretty similar to it, at least. But yeah, this thing is fucking wild. You can just like choose. Yeah, so many possibilities, guys. Yeah, cool. So I think I'm just about done here. Thank you guys for tuning in and hanging out, being nice. Yeah, you know, Derek, that it's literally the exact same thing as yeah, like modulating oscillators and sending LFOs and envelopes all over the place. It's literally doing the same thing. It's so the modular system is basically if you were to like open up the panel of any one of your like software synths and seeing all of the interconnections, all of the stuff that like connects all of the functions of the synth. That's what a modular synth is. You just have to patch it manually. You know, like when you go into like your software synthesizer and you have the ADSR, that's already internally patched into like where the oscillator and like VCA and all that stuff. That's already patched for you, but so it's all the same functions. It's literally exactly same functions, in the modular that is in the software synthesizer. So it's all the same concepts. It's just like crazier and fucking expensive, pretty much. Thank you, Miles. Thank you, Elaniel. Appreciate you. Yeah, Jack. Appreciate you. Thank you, Justin, Josh. Hell yeah. Yeah, so it all comes down to understanding the like fundamentals of like physics of sound type stuff, and yeah, it's just understanding all the functions of synths, and it has to do with like acoustics and physics of sound and all that stuff. So cool, yeah. Thank you guys, and be well, stay safe. You know, love one another. And I'll see you guys soon. Just hit me up on socials if you want to know anything else. If you have any questions, I'm always I ain't going anywhere. So, all right, friends, take it easy. Later.